Welcome back, everybody, to Fusion's Ramblings. In this series, we spend a few minutes talking about random topics. And today's topic is about foods that wouldn't exist in the world if the Americas were never discovered. Interesting topic. So most of us are familiar, of course, with foods like spaghetti and pizza and all those good things that we love. And as an example, if you were to ask, a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, that came from Italy." And yes, pizza was invented in Naples, and spaghetti is a derivative of pasta and different versions of pasta that existed in Italy and that area, including Greece. Um, but none of those that we know today would exist if the Americas didn't exist or weren't discovered, let's say. Um, why is that? Well, that's because things like tomatoes and peppers, bell peppers, and javelino peppers and all those hot peppers, um, they all came from the Americas. And so until those were discovered, you know, pizza would not have had tomato sauce. Spaghetti would not have had tomato sauce. So they would have to have different versions, which, do exist, but not what we're used to today and what everybody likes. Then, on top of that, tomatoes were at first considered as poisonous by the settlers when they were first discovered. And so, even then, it took a lot longer before finally tomatoes became a staple food source and a crop. And of course, obviously, tomatoes had to make their way over to Europe, where someone decided to put it into pasta, and then later someone decided to put it onto, a pizza-like thing, and thus some of our favorite foods were born. Yay! But other foods as well that we commonly love and crave, and there's a lot of them. So, for example, corn. Corn was discovered in the Americas, used by the native Indians on a regular basis for flour and all kinds of things they would make out of it. Potatoes, all the different potatoes that exist in the world, all came from the Americas. How many of us love French fries? Just imagine if French fries didn't exist. Oh, it would be so sad. Maybe we could make fries out of vegetables, carrots or something. All of your beans, whether it's kidney beans and black beans and chickpeas and lima beans, all of those came from the Americas. Although I might be wrong here, but a lot of us could probably do without the lima beans. Our mother fed them to us on a regular basis. um, so your chilies, that you would put on your hot dog, your chili hot dog and stuff, or chili on the potato, all those very popular food items, wouldn't be available if the Americas didn't exist from that standpoint. A lot of berries came from the Americas as well. Strawberries, raspberries, blueberries. I mean, look at how much the world loves strawberries and blueberries in particular, and everything that's made with them, whether it's pastries and pies and jams and spreads, you name it. Uh, they wouldn't exist. Nuts, cashews, walnuts, peanuts. They all came from the Americas. So can you imagine not having any of those for you nut lovers out there? Um, you know, you'd have a limited palate. There are other nuts in the world, dates and well, dates not quite a nut, but other kinds of nuts that exist. So there would be nuts still, but you wouldn't have any of those that are the most common that you always hear about and that you're munching, especially peanuts, right? I mean, everybody loves peanuts. I mean, that reminds me of popcorn. Oh my goodness. If we didn't have corn, we wouldn't have popcorn. What would we eat at the movies? I guess candy, maybe something like that. I don't know. Um, what else? There's more exotic things like avocados, pineapples. Yeesh, pineapples are very popular. Of course, some people put it on pizza, and I'm okay with that. Although it's questionable why you'd want to put it on a pizza, but hey, it's there. But those are all from the Americas. And then, of course, there's a lot of other items that are not quite food per se, but they have made a big difference in the products that we have today. Like cotton um, was an American weed, and so before that, the only way you could get cotton was from sheep, which really isn't cotton because then it's wool. um, so that would be quite a difference there. Uh, I won't mention tobacco. I mean, of course, you could smoke grass in any country around the world, but tobacco specifically was an American thing, and we could probably do without it. But oh well. There's a lot of other things like squashes, such as pumpkins and your yellow squash, and a lot of the other squash types all came from the Americas. So if you're a squash lover, um, that didn't exist until the Americas were discovered. Um, Brings into question Sleepy Hollow, when I think that was written in the 1600s. So that would have been pretty early, still from a exploration standpoint of the Americas, which were discovered in the 1200s and then starting to be colonized in the 13 and 1400s, and well, I guess that's a couple hundred years. um, but it's kind of interesting to think about the influence that a geographical location has had on food items. Oh, I even forgot to mention probably your most favorite, chocolate, which came from Brazil, South America, because that's where the cocoa bean is from. And, no one knew that chocolate existed, that you could have chocolate candy and chocolate bars and all that good stuff, until, someone found it in the jungle. I think it was shared by the natives, but still, we wouldn't have any of those today. So it makes you wonder what will change in the future when new things are discovered. Um, so I give you examples. Right now, of course, most of the world's oceans are still really unexplored overall. And while more and more popular, there are food items coming out of the ocean, especially the different seaweed types, and they're used for all kinds of stuff. Who knows what else we might actually discover that becomes a farmable food item potentially, in deep water. And as a result, we have something new. Or if we want to talk extraterrestrial, what's it going to be like when we're finally going to other planets outside of our solar system, although potentially you could find something in the solar system, who knows? Um, and we discover new plants, new animals, new items um, on other planets, and find out that they're edible. Which also leads to another question. Um, how did people know that it was safe to eat those items? I mean, if we think about looking at history, someone at some point in time had to be the guinea pig and test that berry that was growing on the bush, or that grass that was growing in the ground, or the fruit off the tree, or the root that was under the plant. They had to try it and decide that, hey, this is good. And it makes you wonder how many people tried things and got sick and potentially maybe didn't even survive because it was poisonous, like mushrooms. I mean, most of the world's mushrooms are poisonous, yet, we eat mushrooms all the time today. So someone went through and tried those mushrooms and determined these are the good mushrooms and these are the bad mushrooms. And I know there's some sirens going by and you can probably hear it very loudly. So we'll just wait there. Now it's behind the building. All right. Um, I don't know, if I would want to be one of those people where hey, look, there's a new berry or there's a new plant. Try it. It might be food. Of course, some things I think are more obvious. You see an animal eating it, you can pretty much assume that it's going to be safe to eat. Now, whether or not it is really a good item to eat for a human is another question, because there are plenty of things out there that animals eat that humans do not and probably cannot. Like, I don't know, koalas eat eucalyptus leaves all the time, yet humans don't eat eucalyptus leaves, although eucalyptus is used for other things. Um, so I guess that would be one way to tell if the food is safe or if the item is safe to eat. But then that goes back to an alien planet. uh, there's going to be alien plants and then alien animals. Just because an alien animal is eating the alien fruit doesn't mean that it's going to be good for us. Now, of course, today we have science, and so I suppose we can, you know, analyze it and determine if it has any toxins in it or things like that, and that will, you know, help us out and save us a little bit. Um, I guess that's one way to look at it. But other stuff, if you don't have the availability of science, then it's down to, okay, who wants to try it? Hey Fred, why don't you try this? Let's see. It's Fred's turn today. And if Fred doesn't peel over, then I guess it's okay. um, but when we talk about foods and the different items that exist today, there's a huge variety. And most of us, of course, the foods we eat are going to be based upon where we grow up and, of course, what we grow up with. Um, because, for example, your parents are going to be the first ones that are feeding you, and so you may only eat certain items the majority of your life, because that's what you grew up with and that's what you're used to, and you go on, and you may not get out and try other foods that you've maybe never even seen before. I can speak from experience, moving, to Asia. There's a lot of foods here that I never knew existed and I never thought to try. And some of them are pretty good. I really like them. Others, not as much. Acquired taste, I guess. um, and these foods are available, back home in the US if you know where to look for them. That's the wonder of today's world, is that, you know, you can pretty much get anything anywhere in the world if you look for it. Um, but most of us, we're just accustomed to whatever we grew up with or whatever's around us, and that's what we eat. But there's a lot out there that you can try and experiment with and see if you like it. And you may not like it, and that's fine, and you don't have to eat it again. But you may find out that you do like it. And so therefore, it's something that you have on a regular basis maybe. Um, Whereas normally you never would have. So I definitely encourage everybody to try different foods, um, look around, see what's available, um, and then, have fun and enjoy the foods that exist today, because at one point in history, they were not available to everybody, or they didn't even exist from the perspective of it just nobody knew about it. It wasn't discovered yet. And today we have the advantage of having all of these great foods at our disposal through modern transportation technology in being able to, get whatever we want at the grocery store, ordering it or finding it, and there's just so much that is out there and available. So definitely, take advantage of it, explore your palette, and find out what else you may enjoy, what else you like. Anyways, we're out of time today for our topic, so I want to thank you for joining Fusion's Ramblings as we just rambled on and about random food items. Hope you've enjoyed, and we shall see you in the next video.